Dynasty Warriors has long been criticized for its gameplay and lack of differing styles between each release. Especially in the West, it's been reviewed at times without even being played, citing the same issues and rarely talking about the fun, mindless gameplay and the complicated secret weapons. On top of that, none of the reviews talk about the extremely fun two-player experience. With the heavy criticism, Koei went into their next release with a fresh mindset, redesigning the game's overall combat system, character design, and other major updates. When finally released to the public, the reviews were so mixed, all major home appliance producers thought about updating their patent. This became the most divisive release in the entire series. Fans either hated it or couldn't care about it. Critics either disliked it as much as past titles, or they praised Koei for trying something different even though they still didn't like it. But that being said, this is the start of what I call the new wave of Warriors games. So how is this for the beginning of a new age? Well, let's find out with the first Pro. Well, would you look at this? Now this is an improvement. A major criticism that I had for Dynasty Warriors 5 is that it looked too similar to its predecessor. Dynasty Warriors 6 breathes some new life into the visuals. Cutscenes look much more vibrant than before. You can tell this is not running on the same engine as the last entry. Maps are much larger than before, and are a joy to run around and explore. It can take a while to get through some stages as large as they are. It can be exciting to jump on a horse or go by foot to see how long it takes you to reach the other side of the map. The environments are textured better and have much more care put into them. It also feels like there's much more to do in the stages. Even the PS2 version looks better. This is such a breath of fresh air after Dynasty Warriors 5. I know that graphics aren't everything, but when your new game looks exactly like your old one, there's a bit of a problem. It never stopped me from playing Dynasty Warriors 5, but it did bug me. This new look helps to identify it as a new title. The previous one felt like more of the same thing, while this entry has a more individual look to it, especially when you compare it to previous games. Armor shines, water reflects light, everything adds up for a greater visual experience than any other entry before. Con! There is so much wrong with this game that it needs a con in itself. So here goes nothing. The combat in this game is absolutely repetitive. If you thought previous games were just pressing square to win, you haven't met this monstrosity. Square and triangle are their own combos of light and heavy attacks respectively. Heavy attacks are the only thing that can break someone's guards, which enemies can now guard from all directions. This is really annoying. The new system is called Renbu. You slowly increase the length of your combo through the stage by attacking enemies and building it up. There are 4 stages to the Renbu system. No matter what stage you are in, the light attack combo will loop as long as you continue to press the square button. Musou has been replaced by repeating 3rd stage Renbu with a final attack. This is just a repetitive mess. Weapons have been changed as well. You still find them randomly, but there's no 1st, 2nd, 3rd, or 4th weapons. There are just 3 different types of weapons: standard, strength, and skill. These are your normal, heavy, and light weapons respectively. The looks do change for each weapon though, so it's not that terrible. But wait, there's no secret weapons? Are you fucking kidding me? There's an achievement for this game to beat every stage on the hardest difficulty, and you're telling me that there's no incentive to do that? Oh, and by the way, the weapons only change the looks for certain characters, not others. Let's not also forget that there are several characters missing. Not only that, there are no new characters either, so we just get less. Also, previous costumes don't make a return like before, just color swaps. Speaking of swapping, you remember way back to when characters were clones of each other, right? Yeah, back in Dynasty Warriors 2. That was almost 8 years before this game, and we solved that issue in Dynasty Warriors 3 by differentiating some movesets. Okay, well, how about we take another step back by making everyone who doesn't have a story mode a clone of each other? Let's only give them 6 differing movesets. Maybe make some of them clones of the characters from the story. That sounds like a good idea. Oh, did you hear that thing that I just brushed over? Well, I'm going to mention it. Yes, only a select few characters actually get a story in this. 4 from each dynasty, plus their respective leaders, as well as Lu Bu and Diao Chan. To go from 48 characters to 41, make most of them clones of each other, and then only give us 17 characters for story mode? Fuck you, game. Oh, and custom characters are only in Empires. Pro. I do have to say that I really like the character redesigns. I feel like the characters are more fleshed out now. Each character has more personality than before. You can take one look at them and know just how they're going to act. Their voices also suit them, and the acting has improved as well. Plus now they're starting to pronounce names correctly. He's no longer Cao Cao. They've also decided to give Sima Yi a more complete ending by adding the beginning of the Jin dynasty to his story. Horses are much better improved. They now have levels, and sometimes, though it's rare, they'll evolve into red hair. Hey, that rhymed. Also, you can call your horse from anywhere on the map, which is incredibly useful if you need to do something on the other side of the map. Horse combat is so improved that it is actually useful. Up to this entry, I only attacked while on a horse if I was trying to get somewhere and there were troops in the way. Now, if I wanted to, I can just hold guard and swing my weapon, and I can actually kill some people. You can now dodge as well. This can come in handy if you're surrounded. Also, no bow combat. Finally! I told you I'd continue to mention this until it was completely gone. And it is. Also, look at this! Finally! As well, you can move the camera with the right stick. I don't know why this wasn't a thing before. Many other games had a controlled camera, but at least it was added. Also, you can do a running charge attack now. Each character has a special ability that can be activated when you pick up a token. These can be skills that max out your Renbu for a short period of time, to boulders falling, to a quick burst of speed so that you can run around and mow down enemies. This also gains you more experience, giving you a little bit more to do when you're surrounded. Con! I feel like the Empire's release is a step backwards in what was accomplished in Dynasty Warriors 5 Empires. We were able to keep our levels and there was a larger element of strategy in the entire package. You could choose from a list of policies that were already suggested to you and acted out. On top of that, when you invaded an enemy area where the ruler resided, you would take over the entire kingdom. You could turn this on and off among other customization choices for Empire mode. You don't get that with this game. No matter where you attack, you only take over that one area. Combat is much more simplistic thanks to the Renbu system. You upgrade weapons by the officer rather than the weapon type, though you do get to carry over your weapons and your horses when you start a new Empires mode. The other thing is you can choose to start as a wandering officer doing mercenary work for the highest bidder, then work your way up from there, getting noticed by a ruler and hired as a general, even going as far as to let you attempt to overthrow the ruler and conquer China. This is a great idea, but it's so poorly executed. Mercenary missions are short and boring. You barely get any decisions as a general, and all this does to the game is artificially extend the time it takes to clear a scenario. I would only pick up the Empire's title if you're looking for some easy gamer score or a platinum trophy. That's why you've been seeing some Japanese footage here. Because the game is so easy and simplistic, you don't even need to use the stratagems or understand what they do to be able to get the platinum trophy. I have all the achievements on the 360 as I had that console first. After I got Dynasty Warriors 6 Empires for the PS3, I went to platinum it in about 2 to 3 weeks. When you release a strategy heavy game and you don't need to understand what's going on to win, you know you messed up somewhere. Pro! This entry added several RPG elements to the mix. First of all, you no longer pick up stat boosts, you level up. This gives more incentive to kill enemy troops. Before, the only thing your level or rank did was either unlock costumes or allow you to ride faster horses. Different color palettes are still unlockable at level 25, but leveling up also increases your stats. Leveling up isn't the only way to increase your stats. Each time you gain a level, you're given a skill point which can be used to buy skills from each character's skill tree. These skill trees also have, well, skills. These can range from giving you extra attack or defense when you're low on health, to improving the effectiveness of health items. We've seen these kind of skills before in equipable items, but now they are character specific. I feel like these trees further develop the character's personality. You also have 3 objectives in every stage. These objectives give you a good chunk of experience points. Some of them can be challenging, others are fairly easy. Some have time limits and force you to work fast, while others will actually force you to pursue Lu Bu. All in all, the RPG elements that have been added in give the game new life, and makes the grinding a little bit more complex than just picking up random swords and shields to increase your attack and defense. God! There is no Extreme Legends expansion for this game. Nothing to undo the lack of story mode characters, the missing characters from the previous games, not to mention the clones. An Extreme Legends expansion would have been able to solve most of my issues with this game save for the combat. But if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have had the biggest fault of all. I briefly mentioned the PS2 version in the first Pro, praising its graphics. I personally think it looks more like a classic Dynasty Warriors game than the 360 or PS3 versions. The HD releases seem to have a slight motion blur to them. The PS2 is more crisp, but this is a con. Not only that it's the last con of this review, but this is the final nail in the coffin of this game. The PS2 version has more content than the 360 or PS3. Let that sink in for a second. The PS2 version not only gets 5 new stages, but it also gives Cao Pi, Zhang He, Taishi Ci, Ling Tong, Ma Chao, and Yue Ying their own weapons. You know what that means too, right? They each get their own story mode. This was a game for the people who didn't upgrade to the new hardware, as they not only get to experience a game that was supposed to be the new generation exclusive, but to have more content than the HD fuckers. On top of that, there was a release on the PSP. Unlike the last 2 Dynasty Warriors titles, this was a full port of the game. Even this version includes the new characters and story, cutting an even deeper wound for the PS3 and 360 users. And now I'm gonna throw salt on these wounds. It was never localized in North America or Europe. You had the translations already done. You would just have to do some programming to include the English text and audio from the console versions. But seriously, are you kidding me? There's no way you could have released Dynasty Warriors 6 Extreme Legends and have some of these new features on the PS3 and 360? It's not like you couldn't figure it out at the time, because Samurai Warriors 2 Extreme Legends was released as DLC for the 360 earlier that year. Just release it as the Dynasty Warriors 6 special upgrade. Not releasing the content to the HD platforms is the icing on the cake for this entry in the Dynasty Warriors series. Well then, this This is not what Warriors fans were expecting when Koei said they were going back to the drawing board to reinvent the series. Fans wanted something more. After Dynasty Warriors 5, which was a bit too similar to Dynasty Warriors 4, I was expecting an extravagant entry into the franchise. What we got was actually less. Less of everything. Less weapons, less story, less characters, and worst of all, less fun. Even when it came out, I didn't like Dynasty Warriors 6 as much as the previous entries. I'd constantly go back to the last 3 entries as they had more to offer. Plus, I was never actually done completing them. Warriors games take an iron will to complete. Dynasty Warriors 6 isn't very different. To get everyone up to level 50, then to finish every stage on the hardest difficulty to get those last 2 achievements is a trial. But does anybody want to do that? And don't even get me started on Empires. It's more simplistic and way too easy to get the platinum. That's why Dynasty Warriors 6 gets a 5 out of 10. I've always been disappointed in Dynasty Warriors 6. It was supposed to be the phoenix of the series, rising it up to critical acclaim after being thrown away as the same old thing with each release. This was not the change we wanted, nor was it the change we needed. This game was criticized harshly by fans and got pretty much the same reviews from top critics. Something had to change. Dynasty Warriors was on the verge of being let go by its fans. Hey, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe because tomorrow I'll be reviewing Dynasty Warriors 7 and I'll let you know if it healed the wounds that this game made. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to put myself through some more torture by playing Shin Son Goku Musou 5 Empires. These trophies are just too easy.